y'all. Welcome back to another episode of In the Kitchen with Baker Girl. Thank you, Jesus. It is another beautiful day to be in the kitchen, and welcome back to another episode of my brand new series all about pies, a new take on a classic favorite recipe. Today we are doing a new take on a classic chocolate pie. Now, there are two types of chocolate pies. You have one which is called a chocolate pie. It usually has a meringue on top that's baked on top. It's a baked meringue. We also call that a hot meringue because it's not cold, whereas you would do like a Swiss meringue, and then you would pipe it on top, and then you would just brown it. That traditional pie has a French meringue, which is a raw egg white meringue, and it is put in the oven and baked, and that is the kind that more than likely your grandmother's made. It's very popular up here in the Appalachian area where we live. It's a very popular pie. Now, there is the second chocolate pie, which is called a chocolate chess, just like the game of chess, Chess. And that is made with, similar to a chocolate pie, but then cornmeal and or flour is added to the pie to give it more of like a not quite a pudding texture like the classic chocolate pie. It has more of a brownie texture. That's the word I'm looking for. More of a brownie texture. But today, I'm not going to do exactly either of those. There will be no meringue. There will be no cornmeal. I am making an espresso chocolate pie. And this pie is rich because there is butter, there is chocolate, there's also cocoa powder. And I'm using two types of chocolate, and I'll explain why. And because it's an espresso chocolate pie, I have espresso powder. So that is my new take on a classic favorite, and that is what is coming up today. So please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, like, share, comment, roll up your sleeves, put your apron on, preheat your oven to 350 degrees, and let's get to baking this pie. So I'm going to grab a bowl, and I'm going to cut up my butter. Let me grab a little cutting board, and I'm going to cut the butter up. Now the butter is cold. If you have more foresight than I do sometimes, make sure that you let your butter sit at room temperature. And that'll just make it a little easy cutting. But you gotta melt it anyway, so you don't have to worry about the temperature. This is refrigerator cold, not freezer cold. If this was freezer cold, it wouldn't be quite so easy to cut. But I'm just gonna cut the butter up into chunks and add that to the bowl. This is a microwave safe bowl. And this is gonna sound funny, but I'm gonna put, I'm gonna put some of the butter into the pan, and then I'm gonna add some of the chocolate chips, and then I'm gonna add more of the butter, and then the remaining chocolate chips. Add that in, and then I'm going to put this in the microwave and melt this until the butter and the chocolate is all nicely melted together. Now, it depends on your microwave. If you have one of those super strong microwaves, you may wish to check on this every 15 seconds. If your microwave is a low power, or you're microwaving on a low power, you might want to check on it every 20 seconds. But whatever you do, don't just put it in there and walk away, because the chocolate can scorch, and you want to melt chocolate at a gentle temperature. You don't want to force it, or you don't want the temperature to be too high. Your chocolate can seize. And also, another thing, you want to stir your chocolate you want to stir it and just keep it stirred. It doesn't take long to melt. So let's head over to the microwave. Be right back. so it's been 40 seconds. And as you can see, not a whole lot is going on, but it's starting to melt. Let's just give it a stir. Looks a mess. Incidentally, if you were making brownies, like the 1 bowl brownies, you would do the same method for melting your chocolate. Okay, so back into the microwave. She goes to melt a little more. Okay, 20 more seconds, and it's looking decidedly more melty. And that was literally 20 more seconds. Now, at this point, you can just continue to stir. And the chocolate, especially under your warm hands, if your hands are warm, it will melt. You just have to stir it. And really, that's the best way to melt chocolate, because chocolate does not take much to melt. But I think I'm just going to pop this back in for maybe 10 more seconds. Be right back. Okay, so those extra few seconds did the job. And now, just give it a stir. There we are. And there's still a few pieces of butter bobbing around in there, but that's okay. That's actually a good thing, because, as I say, you don't want this to actually get hot. So if you were doing this in a double boiler, you would pull it out, you would stop it, and let those last few pieces of butter just melt like that. So I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to move on to the rest of the components of the pie. So, that smells very good. Oh, wow. That's the joys of using a rich quality chocolate. It's really good. Okay, Sarah, put it down. Okay, be right back. Now we move on to the eggs. And by the way, blend the espresso powder in with the melted chocolate. I forgot to show you that bit, but just go ahead and mix the espresso powder in with the melted chocolate and butter at this point. And one more thing I want to add. If you have a marble countertop surface, as I do, don't set the bowl of melted chocolate and butter, because it's cold and it will start to solidify it. I actually set it back on top of my stove, which is preheated and warm, and that'll keep it from hitting that cold surface, because it can start to cool it down. And incidentally, another thing, this is totally off topic, but not directly off topic. If you were pouring that chocolate mixture into a stand mixer bowl or any kind of bowl, like these type of bowls, you want to warm it a little bit. So run it under some cold water. That's what I do with my stand mixer bowls if I'm adding chocolate or something to it. If you do not, it can start to seize up and start to solidify. So just keep it somewhere warm, or warm up the bowl before you pour the chocolate right into it, or set it on a cold surface. So just a little tip from a baker. Okay, now let's move on to the eggs. So I'm going to use two whole eggs. Oh, these are beautiful. Look at those pretty orange yolks. And then I'm going to use 1 egg yolk. So I'm just going to separate the white. My eggs are at room temperature. They are not cold straight out of the fridge. You don't want to do cold straight out of the fridge eggs today, because that's another thing that can make your chocolate seize. So just make sure everything is at room temperature. Okay. And just set the egg white aside. You can use it for, something else. Just set. Now, to these beautiful orange egg yolks, that's the benefit of using good quality. And I don't mean to sound smug saying this, because there's nothing wrong with regular grocery store eggs. But if you can get the more organic or naturally raised eggs from hens, you can get organic eggs from pasture-raised hens. That's even better. Now I am going to whip with my whisk. I'm going to whisk in some of the sugar, and I'm going to reserve a bit of the sugar, and I'll explain why in a minute. Okay, sugar dust. And I'm going to go ahead and whisk this. You do not want to wait you don't want to wait whisking sugar and egg together, because the sugar can actually cook the eggs. So don't let sugar sit on eggs without whisking. And I'm just going to whisk this up until it gets a little bit lighter in color. So you can see how the mixture has gotten a lot lighter. So has my kitchen, by the way. If you remember, if you've been following my channel for a amount of time, you know this time of year, my kitchen is like a total glow bug this time of day. And that is because the leaves are gone from these two huge walnut trees that fans right over the house. And when the leaves are gone, the southern sun blares right into these big windows here in the kitchen. So that's why my kitchen is like a glow bug this time of day. Okay, but hey, I don't need to use any lighting. Okay, so this is well whisked. As you can see, it's not to the point of like you can't make a ribbon out of it, but it is nicely whipped. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in the melted chocolate and melted butter. Okay, so that last little bit of butter melted, and this still feels a little warm, and that is good. That's exactly what you want. Now I'm just going to go ahead and pour this in to the egg. Pour it right in. Get it all in there. We don't want to waste. Don't want to waste anything. Okay. And I also want to add in just a pinch of salt. Just a pinch. Because you do need some salt for all of this. And I like to just go by pinches. Now I'm going to add in some vanilla extract. And I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to, about 2 teaspoons. You can use vanilla bean paste, by the way. But for this recipe, I just wanted straight up vanilla extract. And then I'm just going to stir this in. Don't over stir. That smells so good. Now, for the remaining sugar and the cocoa powder, I'm going to mix these two together. So the reason why I reserve some of the cocoa, some of the sugar is to mix it with the cocoa powder. Now, there's one reason for this, and one way if you forgot to save some sugar, you can avoid doing this. You can just sip the cocoa powder. But cocoa powder is quite naturally lumpy. So let me get a spoon, make sure I'm doing a good job. Yeah, it's very lumpy naturally. So the sugar just helps to keep the lumps separate. And that goes for anything, flour, spices. Anytime you're adding something like that into something like this, save some of the sugar to mix into it. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the cocoa powder and the remaining sugar right in. Yeah, a little dusty. I think I'm going to be a little dusty too once I'm finished. But anyway, I'm just going to gently stir this in. And while I am gently stirring, I'm going to go ahead and add in the milk just a bit at a time. There we are. And then just stir that. I'm going to be gentle at this point. You don't want to do any any crazy stirring or anything like that. Just stir it until you can tell everything is nicely mixed. And it is. And that's it. You don't need to stir anymore. Okay, so I've got my pie shell here. Now, if you notice, one thing I want to say about this, I did not crimp the edges. I just left it a plain rolled edge. That is another thing that's very traditional for a chocolate pie. They usually don't have a crimped edge. They have a rolled edge. But if you want to do the traditional crimp, by all means, go ahead. It's just, I guess that's what we would say. It's just a Southern thing, because traditionally the edges are not crimped. But that's just the visual. Nothing to do with the actual recipe. Okay. Now I'm going to pour this. See if I can find a clean side. Yeah. I'm going to pour this right into the prepared pie crust. Whee! In she goes. That looks good. Pour it all in. Don't leave anything out. Scrape the bowl. You know I'm going to say it. I am not a spoon licker, cake batter licker at all. I don't do that. No, I never lick bowls and spoons, and I never taste raw batter. Now, I'm using a regular wheat-based pie crust, but you can definitely use a gluten-free one. And I do have a gluten-free pie crust recipe on my channel that would be perfect for this, because the mixture itself is gluten-free. There's no flour or anything in it, so you can use a gluten-free pie crust just as easily as this. So I'm just going to give the pie a little wiggle and a jiggle. Tap it, and it's going to bring the bubbles to the surface. And there they are. There they come. Okay. Now, here is a tip to help get rid of those bubbles that pops up on the surface. Now, you can take the thinnest cake tester that you have and run it through the pie like this. Just run it up and down. And that will help get rid of some of the bubbles. Or, that's one way to do it. Or, you can take a kitchen blowtorch and stand away and just go over the surface, and it will help to pop the bubbles. But be quick. You're not trying to scramble it or cook it or anything. You're just trying to pop those surface bubbles where you see them. And it just gives a blast of not just air, but also a little bit of heat that kind of knocks them out. And this will give you a smooth top. And there we are. There are no bubbles on the surface. You must be quick. So I'm going to get this pie in the oven, and it is going to bake for about 45 minutes. Don't overbake this pie. Whatever you do, don't overbake it. The reason why you don't want to overbake it is because you want it to be nice and creamy textured, not soupy, but you don't want it to be like a baked chocolate cake. And if you overbake it, you've overbaked it. So try your best not to overbake it. So check on it frequently. Don't be afraid to open the oven and give it a little jiggle to see. It should be set around the edges, but still have a nice size jiggle in the center. So into the oven she goes to bake. Looks good already. Chocolate pie is done. It's out of the oven and it's still warm, but it's not like, I let it cool a little before I started handling it. But it's got like a nice little shell right around the edges, and You know it's nice and gooey. Ooh, it's still very hot. You know it's nice and gooey in the center because the edges kind of crack a little bit browny, like if you look around the edge. But, oh wow, this pie smells so good. This is going to be a treat. I hope you've enjoyed this recipe, and the recipe itself will be in the description box below this video. Just click the more, where it says more in the description box, click more, and then it will take you to the full description. I hope you will give this pie recipe a try, and I hope you try out the other pie recipes that is in my pie playlist. And if you do, share your thoughts and let me know what you think. And if you need any help with pie baking, by all means, drop a comment and I will be more than happy to give you some help and assistance should you need it. In the meantime, take care, y'all, and the good Lord willing, I will see you guys again in another video. Take care, y'all. Bye. This smells so good.